So this is the ninth question. So this is about a water body, and this falls under environment section. Okay, and this was constantly in news at that time because of an event in that water body. So first we'll see the question, and then we'll see the different features of that water body. So consider the following statements with reference to water body. It is the largest lagoon in India. It has a main island at heart of it called Nalaban that is designated as bird sanctuary under Wildlife Protection Act. And it is the largest wintering ground for migratory waterfowl in Indian subcontinent. It is located on eastern coast of India. So these are the all four features that uniquely try to identify that. So now based on the options given, try to identify it. At least try to eliminate one or two options based on those features. I know it will be tricky. If you see the fourth point, it will somewhat easy to identify because it says it is on eastern coast of India. So if you know the Vemban Lake, Vemban, as a name it suggests, it is a kind of South Indian name, and specifically it is a Kerala state lake. So you can eliminate A option because it is on western coast. So now you can see in the rest of the three, and it is saying main island at the heart of it. So do you think East Kolkata will have such kind of thing? So it is very remotely possible. So now you can short it to Kolleru Lake and Chilika Lake. And the option is Chilika Lake actually. So it is talking about Chilika Lake. And Chilika Lake is very, very, very important from Prelims point of view because UPSC has asked almost like 2 or 3 times about Chilika Lake. So that is why this lake is very important. And it is also an important Ramsar convention site. So we'll see the answer now. Yes, it is Chilika Lake. So it is the largest lagoon in India, and in that lagoon itself there is a central island that is itself is a biggest bird sanctuary, and it also is at the central place between the migratory route. So that is why it is famous. And not only Chilika Lake, you also have to see Ramsar sites in India. So this is a map that shows different important Ramsar sites, and one or the other Ramsar site will always be there in UPSC. So among them, try to see it from north to south. Okay, from Jammu and Kashmir, that is Somoriri, and then Chandratal, and then in the Assam there is one more, and then in the Loktak Lake, that is also important. And then you have in Tripura Rudrasagar, this is another Ramsar. And in West Bengal, there are two sites. One is Sundarbans and the other is East Kolkata. And then once you come to Chilka Lake, it is Orissa, and you also need to see the rivers that are there in the north side and south of Chilka Lake, because sometimes they might also ask in that way, because there are certain rivers like Subarneka River, and then there are Mahanadi River and all. And also this Chilka Lake and nearby areas of Odisha are very important. For example, if you see this olive ridley turtles will say nest in this nearby coast, Ganjam coast, and there are different nesting sites. So you need to know them also, like in the north to south order where they are and all. And ports also important, like Paradip port is there. So that is why Odisha is very important from geographical and environment aspect. So try to see this, like what are the rivers that pass through. And while I'm talking about it, one thing came to mind, that is Bhitarkanika National Park. Like there were two questions on Bhitarkanika National Park in the last few years. Once they've asked about this crocodile, and that crocodile is specially, I mean, they gave certain features like how I've given in this question. Like this is the future of crocodile, and this is the park and all. And then finally they gave different options, and the correct answer is Bhitarkanika National Park. So try to know that Bhitarkanika National Park also. So that is why Orissa is very important. First West Bengal Sundarbans, and then Odisha. And finally in Andhra Pradesh, Kolleru Lake is there. So you also have to see what is the significance. What is the difference, main difference between Kolleru and Pulicat? One is saltwater and Kolleru is kind of freshwater, and there are different migratory species that come to Kolleru Lake. So you also have to see what are the migratory species, because Kolleru Lake is also constantly in news. And then in Kerala, you have Ashtamudi Lake and Vemban Lake. So try to see them. And then finally in Gujarat and Rajasthan, in Rajasthan especially, you have the Sambar Lake. This is also important. So this lake, if you remember, like in the last year, some around hundreds of birds have died in this lake because of a poisoning incident. So that is why this was constantly in news. So try to know more background about this. So these are all Ramsar convention sites, and these Ramsar sites are very, very important. So try to know all of them. So I've just explained about Chilika Lake, but try to know more information about them. And now these are some of the important features about Chilika Lake. Like as I said, this is a brackish water lagoon that is where the sea fresh water of river meets with the salt water of sea. So that is how brackish water lagoon forms. And it is the largest coastal lagoon in India and second largest coastal lagoon in the world. Okay, and the first largest is this New Caledonian Barrier Reef in South Pacific Ocean. So that is the largest. After that, it is Chilika Lake, and as I said, is also largest hub for migratory birds. And Chilka Lake is listed in Ramsar Convention wetlands of international importance. And in historical importance is that it is also there in as one of the major harbors for maritime trade in Kalinga. You all know like Kalinga is part of ancient Odisha, that is during the Maurya Empire and all. And finally, Chilika is the only habitat of Irrawaddy dolphins, classified as endangered species by IUCN. And you know, this Irrawaddy dolphins' unique nature, there are two, three. This Irrawaddy name itself came from a Myanmar river called Irrawaddy. Actually, these dolphins are said to be found and lived in that Irrawaddy river. But the unique feature is that they also live in brackish water. That means they live in saltwater kind of areas also. So that is why they live near the lagoons. That is how Chilika Lake is also home for this Irrawaddy dolphins. So if you see the difference between Ganga dolphins and these Irrawaddy dolphins, Ganga Gangetic, sorry, not Ganga, Gangetic. Gangetic dolphins are freshwater dolphins. They don't live in seawater. But these Irrawaddy dolphins live in brackish water, that is in salt water also. So that is the unique nature of these dolphins. So try to know about these unique features. Now coming back to the last topic, that is Chandrayaan 2, which was the most discussed topic in entire 2019 and 20 year also because of its launch, its unique features, and also kind of partially successful attempt. So if you see the question, consider the following features of India's Chandrayaan 2 mission. This lunar mission has three major components: orbiter, lander. Lander is called as Vikram and rover as Pragyan only. And second statement, it is the first space mission to conduct soft landing on Moon's farther side region. And the third statement, PSLV Mark III is a launch vehicle to be used for this mission. So if you can see this, you can, if you have any basic idea, then you can eliminate the third option because PSLV doesn't have the range to heavy lift this kind of load and also to go to geostationary orbits or the orbits which are above the lower earth. If you see PSLV is mainly intended to put satellites in lower earth orbit, that is in the near orbit. So that is why PSLV we use only for small communication satellites and all launches. Whereas GSLV is most powerful rocket, that is geosynchronous launch vehicle. Okay, so that we use for all this Mangalyaan mission, this Chandrayaan mission. Even now we are using this Gaganyaan. For Gaganyaan also it is GSLV. So if we know this basic thing, then you can eliminate the third one. And then second one it is saying Moon's farther side region. So which is the country that attempted this farther side region? It is China that was the first country to launch a soft landing on Moon's farther side. And India's Chandrayaan was intended to soft land in Moon's southern pole. Okay, not the farther side. It is in the near side only, but the southern side. So China has launched it. So that is how they have interchanged this statement, second statement. So second statement is also wrong. And only the first statement is correct one. So answer is C, one only. So now we'll see some of the important features of Chandrayaan mission, Chandrayaan 2. And before Chandrayaan, I guess you all know that we have already attempted Chandrayaan 1 mission and where we have found water molecules. That is the important achievement. So we have found water is existing in moon because of, and that Chandrayaan 1 is not an lander mission. It is an orbiter mission. By orbiting the moon itself, we have found that there are certain chemical formulas that are resulting in water. So that is a major success and discovery of Chandrayaan 1. So Chandrayaan 2 is an upgrade of Chandrayaan 1. If Chandrayaan 1, we have attempted orbiting. So in Chandrayaan 2, we went for landing also. So this is the first landing mission for ISRO in an extraterrestrial body. So that is the importance. And second unique feature is this is the first space mission to conduct soft landing on Moon's south polar region. Okay. And what is the significance of south polar region? South polar region has lunar surface area much larger than North Pole and is always in a shadow. That means if there is something in shadow, what does that mean? The water will be in the crystal form, that is in the ice form. So there is a larger probability of finding the water in the southern polar region. So that is why we tried to launch our Chandrayaan 2 on southern side. So that is another unique feature. And then as I said, GSLV Mark 3 was used. So now for you, you also need to know what are the different stages of GSLV Mark 3. Try to know different stages, like what is the first stage, whether it is liquid stage or solid stage, what is the second stage, and where is the cryogenic engine, because sometimes they might go inner details and ask about this GSLV mechanism also. They've asked once. Coming back to the topic, yes. So Chandrayaan 2 will have 14 Indian payloads, and on top of that, it is trying to study three main important things. One is topography. That means how the rocks are there, what is the map distribution, surface distribution of Moon, and then seismography. That means the waves, the seismo waves inside interior of the Moon also, and then mineral identification and distribution and chemical composition. So these are the three main objectives of Chandrayaan 2. And NASA's instrument was also there on Chandrayaan 2. Like how it was there in Chandrayaan 1, we also have some of the NASA's instruments on Chandrayaan 2 to aid and support the discovery of water and other chemicals. And then India, if it would have been successful, India would have become fourth country in the world to soft land on lunar surface. It was right now achieved only by US, China, and Russia. And you all know there will be one lunar day on Moon. This is also important from prelims point of view. One lunar day means 14 Earth days. Okay, because that is a distance, and because of the solar eclipse that is forming on the Moon, the difference of one lunar day will be equal to 14 Earth days. So now this is about Chandrayaan 2. And if someone like asks what is the success rate of Chandrayaan 2, you can rate Chandrayaan 2 is successful as far as around 90 to 95%. Why? Even though we were unable to launch the lander on Moon, because 90% of the mission was successful from the orbiter stage, because many of the payloads and instruments were there in the orbiter. And second thing, we failed almost at the last point of landing. So we were able to separate the lander, and we were able to attempt the soft landing. So that is why, because of this, we say ISRO was about 90 to 95% successful, because sometimes this might also come as a question, like whether it was a complete failure or whether it was success or what kind of success and all. And then what is the further reading that you have to do? Then you have to also see China's Chang'e 4. This is very, very important, because this is the first time a mission soft landed on other side of the Moon, that is farther side. And why we say farther side, that also is important. Why we say farther side? Because there will not be any solar radiation that goes to the other side of the Moon, because Earth comes in between. So that is why. So that is why the radio transmissions also is very difficult. That is why no one attempted, but China tried to land its mission on other side. And then Tianwen is an kind of space station that is being built by China. So try to know a few details. And then Barshit is like an same Israel private agency has tried to launch a mission on Moon. It also got failed. So that is Barshit. And then you all know NASA's Artemis program. What is NASA's Artemis? It is intended to launch humans again back to Moon by 2024. So like US NASA wants to again send astronauts to Moon. They want to soft land their people again. So this is a famous program launched again by Mr. Trump in a form of like arms race. to moon, like how arms race is going on, they are started space race to moon. So that is NASA's Artemis. And then finally you have UAE's Hope probe. UAE is such a small country, and it is now starting to send a mission to Mars, and the main name of the mission is Hope. So these are famous missions of different space agencies. So you also need to know at least some details about these missions, because these space missions are always important. Now, if you see, if you are reading Hindu regularly, on fourth or fifth page, just before the editorials, you'll always see an pollution index where they list everything, good category, everything. Have you ever tried to focus on it? Like, what are the categories are there? What are the pollutants are there? That is very important, because sometimes UPSC also asks on those pollution parameters and indexes. This is even more important because last year Delhi was constantly in news because of the air pollution, and Delhi has topped almost all the cities in the world. Now it is the most polluted city in 2019. So that is why I have focused more on this air pollution part. So now see the question. First question. Like, consider the following statements regarding air pollution in India. The pollutants measured under National Ambient Air Quality Standards (NAQS) are more than that are measured under Air Quality Index. I know this is a bit difficult. I'll explain this again, and we'll first see the question. So the second one, the AQI code satisfactory is associated with serious health impacts on people with lung and heart diseases. Third one, in India, the NAQS, that is National Ambient Air Quality Standards, is specified by CPCB. CPCB stands for Central Pollution Control Board. Which of the above statements are correct? So now, okay, first is very difficult, so leave first. Now try to see 2 and 3. Out of this, third seems very reasonable. Like, NAQS can be specified by CPCB because that is the main organization that deals with pollution. So even by guesswork, if you can see third as correct, and then see the second one, AQI code satisfactory. It is saying satisfactory is a like a state. Like, there are 6 stages: good, poor, satisfactory, moderately polluted, and severe. These kind of stages CPCB will release along with the AQI. So now satisfactory is associated with serious impacts, it is saying. So how can you say if it is satisfactory, then it would be some kind of milder impacts, not severe impacts. So from that logic also, you can try to eliminate the second one. So if you eliminate the second one, then I hope you will get the answer. That is 1 and 3. So answer is A. Now we'll see everything in detail. So now before going into this, I'll mention this thing. Like, right now regarding the air pollution in India, there are two important indices that comes out. One is air quality index, and the second is National Ambient Air Quality Standards. So first thing, air quality index. Air quality index is released by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Okay, and the difference, whereas NAQS, that is National Ambient Air Quality Standards, is released by CPCB. Okay, so this is the main difference. And second thing, air quality index covers only 8 pollutants. Okay, it is not that extensive. It covers only 8 major pollutants, whereas NAQS covers 12 pollutants. That are 8 that are covered already under air quality index plus 4. What are those 4? These: benzene, benzoprene, arsenic and nickel. These are the extra 4 pollutants that are covered by NAQS. So these are the main two differences. If you know these two differences, then you can figure out the options like whenever there is given. Now we'll see it in detail. Now if we see AQI, AQI is a color coded index initiative of Ministry of Environment under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So when Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was launched, they have extended it to air pollution also, not just to the sanitation. That's how they came up with air quality index. That is in 2014, with the motto of one number, one color and one description. Why this thing? Because there were many pollutants and people were unable to track each and every pollutant. Like, there were PM 2.5, PM10, ozone, carbon dioxide and all. And an average guy cannot understand all these pollutants. So what they said is, from now we'll give one color for one range, and we'll give one status. For example, if the pollution for all the pollutants is in the range of 0 to 50, then we'll give the code of good. Okay, if it is between 50 and 100 average, then satisfactory. If it is between 100 and 200, then it is moderately polluted. If it is 200 and 300, then it is poor. If it is 300 and 400, very poor. And finally, if it is 400 to 500, then it is severe. So this way we have assigned certain codes for each status. And now we have also assigned color. For example, good is green color, and then satisfactory is light green. So moderate is orange kind of thing. Poor is red. Like severe is completely dark red. So this way we have assigned one color, one code for, and one number for average of 8 pollutants. So this is about air quality index. And what are the pollutants? You all know. PM 2.5, 10, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, carbon monoxide, ammonia, and lead. So now I will give you a trick to remember all these 8 pollutants. So you all know PM 2.5 and 10, right? So this is constantly in news. You don't need to remember them separately. PM stands for particulate matter. So those are anyway there. Now you all would have heard about acid rains. So what are the components that cause acid rains? It is nitrogen and sulfur. So that is why NO2 and SO2 are always there. And then finally ozone. Ozone is good when it is present in upper atmosphere. But if it is in troposphere, then it is pollutant. It causes irritation. So that is why ozone is also important. And finally, difference between carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. If it is carbon dioxide, then it is a greenhouse gas. If it is carbon monoxide, then it is a severe pollutant. If you get carbon monoxide in high concentration, your blood will not get the oxygen. There will be a problem with the respiratory system. So that is why carbon monoxide is also pollutant. And then finally, you all know lead is anyway major pollutant, and ammonia is also a pollutant. So this is how you can logically remember this 8 pollutants. So if you remember this 8, you will not get confused whenever they give an option. So this is about AQI. And then in NAQI, as I said, this is launched by CPCB, and it adds 4 more. Those 4 more here I have mentioned: benzene, benzoprene, arsenic, and nickel. So that is the only difference. And the other difference is this NAQI will be for all the major cities in India, and whenever these limits were crossed, like for consecutively, like for 2 days, then there will be an investigation will be done by the agency on that pollution. So that is about NAQI. So try to remember these two and try to know the differences. So that is important. And then finally, what are the further study that you can do is, this is Indian indexes. Okay, these are Indian ranges. As I said, 0 to 50 is good and all. Now you also have to see WHO limits. What is WHO limit for PM 2.5 and PM 10? So at least know that. And then what is the PM 2.5 limit for India? Like what is the Indian limit? What Indian government proposed? Indian government limit will always, remember, Indian government limits will always be greater than WHO. For example, if WHO says 0 to 10 micrometers is the limit for PM 2.5, Indian government says no, not 0 to 10, but at least 0 to 25 or 0 to 30. So that is how the ranges will be. So try, if you remember even this basic logic, if they give an option, you can try to eliminate them. And then finally, SUFFER and National Clean Air Program are 2 other initiatives, because SUFFER is an initiative to address this pollution by Ministry of Earth Sciences. This is the main differences. So who gives us this weather predictions and all? It is IMD, Indian Meteorological Department. That is under Ministry of Earth Sciences. So that same ministry gives SUFFER. Whereas AQI is under Ministry of Forests. This is the difference. And then National Clean Air Program is basically launched very recently in 2019, just after this huge backlash after Delhi pollution. So now we'll see National Clean Air Program also, because that is also important from Prelims point of view. Yes. So these are the AQI and these are the health impacts, because that was an option. I have mentioned this slides also. This is something that you find in Hindu paper also. This is something I picked from there only. So like if it is good, then there will be no impact, minimal impact. If it is satisfactory, then you will have minor breathing discomfort only to sensitive people, not for healthy people. If it is moderately polluted, then breathing discomfort to lung diseases such as asthma, and with heart disease, children and older adults. See, if even if it is moderately polluted, healthy people will not have any effect. But if it is poor, then causes breathing discomfort to people on prolonged exposure. Okay, that is on longer term exposure. If it is very poor, then respiratory illness to same thing. Here it is discomfort, here it is directly illness. And then finally in severe case, respiratory impact even on healthy people. So this is a major difference. So until unless it is not severe, healthy people will not have much impact like how sensitive and older people will have. So this is how you can differentiate and remember, so that if they ask even impact on that stage, you will be able to identify. So Delhi's pollution was always in winter, like completely severe, like even above 500. That is why they say even healthy people should not go and do physical activity like jogging and all. So this is a kind of linking with the activity. Yes. So this is National Clean Air Program. So this air program was used like with an objective to cover around one or two cities. Right now, all the cities are not covered. So this covers tier 2 and tier 3 cities also. And this main objective is to meet annual average ambient air quality standards. These are ambient air quality standards we have just discussed. These are the standards that are set by CPCB. So that is the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. And then the 5-year target was to reduce air pollution by 20 to 30% by 2024, taking 2017 as base year. This is very, very important. See this, try to remember this objective. So this reducing 20 to 30% is very important. And then finally, how we are going to do it? By city specific air pollution abatement action plan. And these are the building capacity things like keeping the emission inventory, and then using information center for data analytics, and then source apportionment studies, and then indoor air pollution monitoring, all these things. So these are all part of National Clean Air Program. So now we'll come to the second topic. So consider the following statements related to Unlawful Activities Prevention Amendment Act 2019. So first option, it empowers the government to designate both organizations and individuals as terrorists now. Second thing, the act empowers the Director General of National Investigation Agency to grant approval of seizure or attachment of property when the case is investigated by the said agency. Third thing, it requires office of the rank of Deputy Superintendent or Assistant Commissioner of Police or above to investigate cases. So now why this question came in news is because this Unlawful Activities Act was amended in 2019, and this brought a big controversy. So much so that even there was a mains question in GS2 on this. So that is why I've put a prelims question on it. And there are three important amendments. So this question is about that. Now, if we use some kind of logic, we will be able to eliminate the third statement. See, the the Bear Act, like before the amendment, it used to be the Deputy Superintendent of Police before. But after the amendment, what they said is we don't need DSP kind of stature to investigate an offense, because each time if you go, that will prolong the case. So now they gave it to the rank of Sub Inspector of Police. So that is why third statement is wrong. So simple. If you eliminate the third, then 1 and 2 are correct. So option is C. Now we'll see the answer. And whenever you are attempting the questions, try to take a rough sheet and write them right there, so that you can correct them whenever you see the correct answer. Why I'm saying this again and again is because if you know how many questions you are able to guess are correct, then it will be kind of incentive for you to work more. So try to do that. And also it will give a boost for you to attempt more and more questions like this. Yes. So coming back to Unlawful Activities Prevention Act amendment. So first thing, what is unlawful activity? This is mainly to deal with the terrorists and kind of activities that affect the integrity and sovereignty of India. So whatever the acts that are related or having an effect on territorial integrity and sovereignty will be considered under unlawful activity. So this is kind of severe act where you will have lifetime jail if convicted as a maximum punishment. And second thing, this amendment for the first time made even individuals can be designated as terrorists. Before, only organizations used to be banned. Now, even individuals can be banned as terrorists. That is an important amendment that was made in 2019. And then finally, as I said, right now, basically the crime is under state list. Okay, policing is under state. But because of Unlawful Activities Act, even NIA, which is a central body, can give approval to seize the property. So earlier this used to be a problem because each time you need the state government's approval. So right now NIA's director can also grant the seizure of property. And finally, it empowers even rank of inspector or above to investigate the cases. This way they are trying to fast track it. And the last amendment, recent amendment, is International Convention for Suppression of Acts of Nuclear Terrorism. So not just terrorism, but even nuclear terrorism related offenses were also added to the list under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. So these are the important amendments made in 2019. So now, as we have seen this, if you remember, there was also a controversy between CBI regarding the director allocation and all. So now we don't need to read about controversy, but we need to know the structure, how the CBI director gets appointed, who is the committee, how many members are there, and then CVC. What is the difference between CVC and CBI, and how CVC gets appointed? What is the term? When does he, after retirement, there is any provision for further appointment or not? So these are the things that you have to see for CBI, CVC, and CIC, because these are the three important bodies like NIA. So this is further reading that you have to just have a look at this. And now Nishta scheme. Okay. Have you heard about this scheme? Seems reasonable. But can you see the second one? There is a slight change in the statement. If you can see here, it talks about higher educational institutions. So if you don't read that statement carefully, then you might end up feeling second one also correct, but its second one is wrong, because this program was aimed at elementary education, not the higher education. That is why they have launched this largest teacher. And who all it covers? It covers all the schools at the elementary level in for educational research and training. Mobile app and a learning object-oriented dynamic learning environment. You watch them, you'll get the certificate, modular object-oriented dynamic learning environment, with all the training resources that they will improve the learning objectives of elementary education. So now, having discussed this, now you try to read more about EQUIP, and then Institute of Eminent Status, and then RUSA. And RUSA here is important. Which category it targets? RUSA? It is between higher and elementary, that is middle level, secondary education. And then IMPRESS, and then SWAYAM, and then finally HEFA, that is Higher Educational Financing Agency. Try to see this, because these are the important schemes of Ministry of Human Resource Development. Even you always see in the news, especially after the budget and all, we were always seeing this in Hindu paper in the business page. You always heard about this crowding out effect. So now see this question. Which of the following correctly describe the term crowding out effect that is constantly seen in the news? The increase in external commercial borrowings by private industries affecting external debt of India. Second statement, increase in government borrowings to fund capital expenditure leads to increase in private expenditure. And third thing, it refers to less availability of funds in market for private players due to higher government borrowings. And the final one, it explains the relationship between additional capital and additional GDP growth. So this is straight away question. If you know, you'll be able to mark. And here the primarily the confusion is between B and C options. Okay. So this is the difference. So if you know what is crowding out and what is crowding in, then you will be able to mark the option as C, because crowding out refers to basically government borrowing heavily from the market. Because of that, what happens? Automatically there will be less money available for private players to borrow. This is nothing but crowding out. That means there are large number of crowd in the market. Okay, because government is borrowing more, it is removing that crowd of borrowers. That is what the exact meaning of crowding out effect. So the answer is C. Now we'll see different important terms of this crowding out effect. It refers to a situation of high government expenditure supported by high borrowing causes decreases in private expenditure. So now we'll see a little bit cycle, like how it happens. What basically happens is, government, you all know, is a and everyone trusts government. So if government borrows, everyone is interested to give money to government itself rather than giving to private industries. So if everyone gives to government, what happens? Interest rate will automatically increase. So first thing, interest rate is increasing. And second thing, if government borrows, will government borrow in hundreds of crores? It will borrow in thousands of crores. So the size is very big. Because of the size and the largest interest rate, funds for the private players will become costly. So private players will reduce their borrowing. This is crowding out effect. And then now, what is crowding in effect? The exact opposite is crowding in. So there we are saying out. That means private players are getting reduced. When we say in, the private players are coming. Our private players are more interested in getting borrowing. So how this happens? This happens when, if suppose government is borrowing some amount from the market to put capital expenditure. For example, it is building roads. For example, a highway was built by government. Because highway was built, there will be demand for the logistic sector. That is, new or vehicles like commercial vehicles will be sold. So when new vehicles are sold, Ashok Leland and private enterprises will put more amount, invest more amount into the economy because they see more demand. So this is crowding in. Because government is investing in capital expenditure, that is increasing demand. So because of the demand, private people also will invest in the economy. So this is crowding in effect. This is especially tried when economy is slowing down or when it is in recession. All these stimulus packages we talk about in the news is nothing but about creating crowding in effect. That is, when government puts some investment, puts some money in the market, then automatically other players will feel also safe and initiative or incentive to add to that. So that is crowding in effect. And then finally, incremental capital output ratio. This refers to one additional capital that is required to produce 1 unit of output. So right now, for example, 100 crores is producing one big commercial vehicle. Okay, let's assume. Now, what is the additional capital that is required to produce one more additional vehicle? That is nothing but incremental capital output ratio. So that means every time the additional capital should be very less. So that is why lower incremental capital output ratio denotes higher efficiency of capital. So how this is, I'll explain with an example. See, right now, as I said, so for example, 1 crore is generating one big lorry. Okay, we are producing one big lorry. Now if you want to produce next second lorry, how much capital extra you need? If suppose you need another 1 crore, then it will be like 2 crores for two lorries, but that is not efficient. For example, for the first lorry, you purchased machinery to make the lorry and all, but for the second lorry to be produced, you can just add some more material, not all the machinery. That means even with 10 lakhs, you can produce second lorry. So that means lower input capital output ratio. So always the incremental capital output ratio should be less. That means higher efficiency of the capital and higher efficiency of the economy. So this is another important term that is always there in the news because of the slowdown and all. Now coming back to fifth question. Which of the following statements are correct with respect to different schemes? Amnesty scheme is aimed at reducing legacy cases by providing relief in the tax demanded. Second thing, dispute resolution offers opportunity to taxpayers to pay outstanding tax and be free of another consequence under law. And finally, Vivad se Vishwas scheme is a kind of dispute resolution scheme launched recently by the central government. So if you see, you all would have already read about Vivad se Vishwas and every inner detail about it. So now I guess you should be able to mark this question. So now try guessing it. But this is a kind of tricky question where it tries to get you into a trap. So try reading it carefully and mark option, and then I'll disclose the answer. If you are done, so here the answer is D, none of the above. I guess most of you would have fallen for the trap. So what is the trap here? Here it is simple. Actually, I have replaced the meaning of those statements for amnesty and dispute resolution. It is actually dispute resolution in the first and amnesty in the second. So if you see, what is amnesty? Amnesty means you will just pay the outstanding tax, everything, and then you will not be there in any dispute. Okay. Amnesty means giving blanket immunity, giving blanket forgiveness. That is amnesty. Whereas dispute resolution means it is actually about giving or reducing the legacy disputes. That means, for example, Vodafone and Airtel tax demand case was there in court. So now this, if it is there in court, it goes on for years and years. When government will get the revenue? And the government is wants to get the revenue and also wants to attract investment. So if they have less litigation, they can attract more investments. So what they'll try to do, they'll try to solve this legacy disputes. How? By saying that, okay, now if we win the case, we'll get this percentage of money. So they'll ask those litigants to pay that amount and they'll withdraw the case. So that is dispute resolution. Dispute resolution is about reducing the litigation and withdrawing the case, whereas amnesty is about you pay some amount and get the complete blanket immunity. So that is a difference. And Vivad se Vishwas is a kind of amnesty scheme, not a dispute resolution scheme. So that is a difference. We'll see this in detail in the next slide. Okay. So that is it. Vivad se Vishwas was launched during this recent budget, and this aims to settle huge number of pending direct tax cases. These are not in the court, but there are certain taxes that needs to be paid, but people are not paying, and there is a lot of interest that is there on the taxes. So now what government said is, in Vivad se Vishwas, you pay certain kind of amount, and then we will eliminate the rest of the tax or interest rate on the tax, so that it will be benefit for you and also benefit for the government. So that is how government is losing some the payment of taxes. So this is more about tax compliance. Okay. So that is Vivad se Vishwas. And this amnesty scheme at present covers disputes pending at level of commissioners, income tax appellate, and High Court, Supreme Court, and those in international arbitration. And finally, it offers a complete waiver on interest and penalty to taxpayers. Okay. And you can see this deadlines also, like till March 31st it is there. And if you are unable to pay, then they are able to extend it and all. That is not that important to know. But this is whole about Vivad se Vishwas scheme. So now if we are done, then we'll go with the next slide. I guess the last topic for today. So this was in news because at that time, Prime Minister Modi went to Vladivostok of Russia. So if somebody would have heard already international relations, you will be easy to, you will feel easy to answer this question. So like the sixth question deals with, consider the following statements with respect to India-Russia relations. Russia doesn't has direct access to Pacific Ocean. Eastern Economic Forum is held every day at St. Petersburg. And third thing, Chennai Vladivostok Maritime Corridor has potential to reduce transit time and cost between two nations, which was started recently. So which of them are wrong? It is very easy to first identify wrong ones so that you can go for correct ones. So which one? Because as I already said in the beginning that PM Modi went to Vladivostok. If it is Vladivostok, then why St. Petersburg came in the picture? This is just to confuse you. Okay, this Eastern Economic Forum is held every year in only in Vladivostok to actually develop the eastern part or far eastern part of Russia. That is the second statement. And regarding the first one, Russia has access to this Pacific Ocean mainly through the Vladivostok. So Vladivostok, if you see the map, it is just beside the China. That is very near to Japan. So that way, even in Indo-Pacific, we usually think Russia is not a part, but Russia also has some territory which gives its access to Pacific Ocean, and that we are trying to connect to Chennai and form a maritime corridor. So that is why the answer is A, 1 and 3. Russia has direct access to Pacific Ocean. It is not doesn't, it has. That option should be Russia has direct access to Pacific Ocean. Then answer would be A, 1 and 3. You can give 2 marks for you, even if you put any other option. So now we'll see the highlights of that visit. As you know, our Indian Prime Minister was the first Prime Minister to visit that Far East region. So that is a unique thing. And second thing, as I said, this economic forum is like dubbed as an, if you know, World Economic Forum, that is where it is conducted. It is conducted in Davos. So sometimes they might put an options like this: World Economic Forum, Davos, East Economic Forum, and then you give Vladivostok. And then they have another thing in St. Petersburg, some Russian forum, or I'm not sure about the exact name, but there is some forum that is held in St. Petersburg. So I'll give this way and they'll confuse. So try to know always the location. So coming back, Eastern Economic Forum is called as Asian West World Economic Forum. So this is kind of alternative, basically conducted every year in Far East to attract more and more investments to develop the Far East region of Russia. So part of that only he invited Modi also. So Modi went to there and committed a major thing like 1 billion line of credit was committed to Far East to develop the Vladivostok. And Vladivostok was very important for us from the point of view of oil, energy, and security aspect. And the third thing is this international north-south transport corridor. This is also constantly in news. So try to know it from prelims perspective. So who are the countries that are involved in this INSTC? Majorly Russia and India. So like source is Russia and the destination is India or other way around. But you should also know through which countries this INSTC passes. So this is important from India-Russia relations. Like it majorly goes through Iran, and then Oman has an agreement in this, and then it goes from Iran through Azerbaijan, and then Russia. And then there are also other Central Asian countries involved in it. So try to see that. And then finally, Gaganyaan mission. So in Gaganyaan mission, the major international partner for us is Russia. So Russia is training our astronauts. So from that point also, it is important. And finally, this 400 Triumph, this missile system also they'll market S-400, F-35, Apache helicopters, and then this Vajra howitzer. They'll give four, and they'll give country names: South Korea, Russia, US, and Israel, and they'll try to confuse you. So these are, because these are significant deals, you also need to know the weapon system name. For example, S-400 Triumph is a weapon system or missile defense system. We are purchasing it from Russia. So this is about that. And against that, US is imposing CAATSA sanctions. If you have read Hindu newspaper yesterday, there is a big article about it. Very clearly they have explained. So try to read if you have not read it.